think it was a reconnection to humanity that I really enjoy, because the people that you meet when you're out on the road, we're all just trying to find the joy in it all.
Welcome to the RV Entrepreneur Podcast, the weekly show for nomads, work campers, RVers, and entrepreneurs looking to earn a living or build a business while enjoying the RV lifestyle. This week's host is Jim Nelson. Let's settle in and enjoy the RV Entrepreneur Podcast, brought to you by RV.Life.
Hey everyone, Jim here once again from RV.Life, and welcome back for another powerful episode of the RV Entrepreneur Podcast. You'll hear what I mean by that in a minute. I'm really excited about today's conversation because it hits home with a few topics that really power me up. Life on the road, self-sufficiency in my rig and my work, overcoming challenges, and turning those lessons into thriving business ideas. Our guest today is Morgan Munkvold from Explorist.Life, the experts at simplifying electrical systems for nomadic living. We actually have quite a bit in common. Both of us have chased adventure, found freedom on the road, and learned, sometimes the hard way, how critical power and connectivity are when you're living and working from anywhere. And, like me, Morgan has taken these real-life experiences and turned them into something much bigger, helping others do the same. Yes, we're talking solar power here, but our discussion is about much more than mere solar panels and wiring diagrams. This is about creativity, problem solving, finding that balance between building a business and fueling your wanderlust, and, once again, the power of community, which, fun fact, is how Morgan and I connected, thanks to the three-legged dogs and her work with Roughware, which ties back to our own Tripods community. There are no coincidences. So, get ready to get inspired to power up both your rig and your business right after we take care of some quick business here. This episode is made possible by Travelfy. Want reliable internet without the hassle? Meet Travelfy. It's portable, high-speed Wi-Fi that's ready to go wherever you are. From road trips to remote cabins. No tricky setup or permanent location required. Just plug in and you're connected. And here's the best part. No contracts, no commitments, and no reactivation fees. Pay only for the months you need. Travelfy connects to the strongest available signal among multiple major networks, so you stay online with confidence, backed by a US-based support team that knows the outdoor lifestyle. Travelfy, simplifying internet while you travel. Visit travelfy.com today. That's TRAVLFI.com. Listeners can save 15% with code RVE at checkout. Morgan, thank you so much for joining me. I'm looking forward to our chat here.
Yeah, me as well. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. We actually have quite a bit in common that I want to get to in a minute here, but technically this is the RV.Life Entrepreneur Podcast. So I tend to ask all of my guests two simple questions first, kind of just a quick and easy, get to know you a little bit. When did you first discover the RV life? And is that any different now?
Oh, it's definitely different than when it started. I first started traveling on the road in 2015 in a Subaru Outback. Wow. I really wanted to get out and take a good road trip, and I hit the road from Portland and headed down to southern Utah and took my Subaru. I had a little bed in the back, and it's evolved from there, from a Subaru to a Jeep to a Ford Econoline to a Ford Transit. So I've had a evolution of vehicles, but keep staying on the road as much as I can.
Very nice. And kind of focusing on the van life aspect of things. And we're going to get into that route in your life. But you've ran a business with your husband, and you've kind of started up a business and merged a business. So what does it mean to you to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think to be an entrepreneur to me really means just leaning into my creativity and following some of that intuition of what I want to bring into the world and how I can do it in a way that supports others. And I find a lot of joy in building things and being creative with it and bringing something powerful that can have a powerful impact to others as well.
Wonderful. That's a really good way to look at it, and it really seems to make sense with everything that you're doing. We've got a lot to discuss about that, but
Yeah,
we actually have a few things in common too. So, first of all, you grew up in Anchorage, in Alaska, correct?
I did. Born and raised.
Yeah. So Renee and I spent a year in Willow, and we kind of discovered what it means to be Alaskan, somewhat. So, how do you think the Alaska mindset guided your love for adventure travel, or did it?
Oh, it definitely did. I mean, I think growing up in Alaska, you're just so deeply connected to nature all the time. I think I didn't know how lucky I was growing up there when I was there. As a teenager, of course, I was so ready to leave and experience more. But as I've spent more time out of Alaska, it's very easy to remember how just a magical place it is. I think one thing that's really impacted me that continues to show up in my life is just my need to be connected to nature and find spaces that I can kind of sit in quiet with nature.
Mm-hmm.
I remember as a kid, we'd always drag out Turnagain Arm
Mm-hmm.
and just be along the ocean. And there's something really special about the wildness of the place.
Oh, that's for sure. Alaska has plenty of places to connect with nature, and there is a certain spirit there that really got into us, and we want to get back. Anyone interested who's listening who is interested in our being to Alaska can check out my recent episode number 384, I believe it was. If not, we'll fix that in the show notes. So, Explorist. This is a solar power van outfitter building company. You and your husband kind of merged your own solar design and install company with Explorist.Life, and we're going to dive deep into that. But I first met them at the Adventure Van Expo in 2023, and listeners can hear my remote report from there in episode 304. But Morgan, you and we kind of connected via some of the work you did for Roughwear, the adventure dog gear company, because you have a three-legged dog,
Yeah.
and Renee and I run the Tripods community for pet amputees. How did you get involved with photo shoots for Roughwear?
Yeah, one of my friends actually manages their production and had reached out to see if we were interested in doing a photo shoot with them for some of their new gear. She knew that we're big rafters, that we're on the water quite a bit. And so the life jacket, the new life jacket they just came out
Mm-hmm.
with, was a great fit for us to try on for our little tripod to Pete's.
Aw.
So it was a really fun day. We got out on the Mackenzie River, took a wooden boat down the river, and he got to show off how cute he was throughout the day.
And such a swimmer. And anyone interested there can check the show notes. We're actually selling the Confluence Roughwear gear life jacket there at Tripods, so we'll drop a note there, a little shameless plug. But as we go forward, we'll step back there to, you went from a Subaru to the van life. Tell us a bit how the journey began. Your love for road travel, it kind of started in that Subaru Forester. You say you went from Oregon to Utah, but just a couple later, you moved into an Econoline. What was it about that first road trip that made you think, this is the life I want? What made you say, wow, and keep going?
Oh, I just fell in love with one being just on the open road. I find really enjoyable. It's definitely a meditative space for me of just driving and seeing all the back roads that we have to share here in the US. And I traveled a lot through the West, but there's that for sure. And on top of that, I remember on my first trip in my Subaru, I met a bunch of people at campsites, and they were all just so curious about where I'd been, what my story is. I was curious about theirs. We shared different locations that we've experienced across the country. And I think it was a reconnection to humanity that I really enjoy, because the people that you meet when you're out on the road, we're all just trying to see something new, have a bigger experience, and find the joy in it all. And I think when you take away our daily work and our computers and our cell phone service and just go open up your door of your camper and experience nature, there's something really special in that. And when you get to meet other amazing people doing the same thing, it's easy to want to go back for more.
Oh, for sure. And so many of my discussions here come back to the community and the people you meet. And you mentioned the joy, but there are highs and lows on these trips. You've now been traveling, in a van for several years on and off the road. Can you give me like maybe one unexpected lesson that you encountered, whether it was good or bad, that kind of where you learned about life on the road and the curves it may send your way and how it might have shaped your travel? So what was one thing that kind of stuck out that was either good or bad that helped shape the way you travel now?
That's a really good question. I feel like there's a very long list of challenges from on the road.
Let's hear a couple.
Many options. One, I'll go to one of my first nights I was out traveling in my Econoline. I started off solo in that van. It was just my dog and I was camped at a trailhead parking lot, and I woke up in the morning and all the power was gone. My van wouldn't turn on. None of the lights inside would turn on. And I just kind of stood there alone for a while of like, how do I have to solve this problem? How do I make my way through this and figure out how to get out of here, how to get my van turned back on, one, so I can move, and then be able to actually figure out what really went wrong, because this is early days of me traveling and I've just made this big choice to sell all my things and live in this van all alone. And it was a quick reminder of it's not all going to be rainbows and butterflies. So that was a really big one for sure.
Hey RVers, let's be real. Your RV showerhead isn't great. And even if you swapped it out for something better, chances are it's just a shinier version of the same old thing. And if you're really lucky, those stiff posts kind of let you get wet, but definitely not where you want it. That's where Waterpik comes in. A global leader in water technology, they've designed the Transform RV showerhead to change the way you shower on the road, making it easier and more efficient to shower in tight RV spaces. While other RV showerheads have limited spray adjustments, the Transform RV's unique 360-degree pivoting head allows you to customize to any spray angle without having to remove it from the bracket. This means you can reach your desired spray area and shower with both hands free. This shower head doesn't just work better, it feels better. It's engineered to deliver powerful, consistent water flow. Its multiple spray settings are optimized to get the most out of your water tank. And with the new trickle switch, you can conserve water without that shocking blast of cold or hot water when you turn it back on. It's available in white, chrome, and nickel. The Waterpik Transform RV Showerhead is ready to upgrade your RV shower. Head over to Amazon and check it out now.
It sounds kind of familiar, and you literally just answered my next question, which was going to kind of be about the power of power and how it kind of led you into your next business. But a quick aside, Renee and I were out in our first fifth wheel, first year on the road, total newbies with the typical stock batteries, lead acid batteries that came with the rig. And we did, you had to keep water in them? Really? Man, we just fried our batteries big time. So it takes a learning lesson sometimes to do these things. So was it that instance, or was there something else that led you into, turning this into a business? And tell us how it took shape with you and your husband starting your own solar install. Was it based on that experience or something similar?
I think that experience probably helped lead the way, but I didn't know it then. I continued to have problems with my electrical system for sure in that original van, which led to me having to really educate myself on how to fix it and what was wrong with it in general. I didn't have I don't have an electrical background. It was all very new to me in general. And so I had to start kind of diving in and figuring out the answers. That problem of the van dying and my electrical dying happened more than once as I figured it all out within those first few months of being on the road. And once I finally figured out what things like bus bars were and how to manage power, how much power I can use, I really started to find my flow in being able to work remotely and be on the road. There were many moments in there that I'd wake up in the morning and have a meeting at 9 a.m. and I'd have all the electrical dead in my van and have to race off to a coffee shop. And that those moments are really stressful and don't really make the experience as enjoyable if you're trying to balance living on the road and working. And so, yeah, I really dove into how to solve the problem. I was grateful to have some friends that were open to educating me. I also then did meet Nate and Steph from Explorist.Life on the road, and Nate kind of gave me a rundown of the big pieces that were the problem with my van and how to fix it. And so that was back in 2017. But yeah, I think a lot of the continued struggles with power and also my desire to stay on the road just made me dive into how to make it work.
And it's those struggles that make us stronger. And, when you can translate that into entrepreneurship, because it's the struggles we face and overcome those challenges that help us grow our businesses. But at the time, were you still working in the company culture management space? Is that what I heard?
Yeah. So when I first started on the road, I was running an outdoor event series and I was in grad school for organizational psychology and transferred quickly into launching my own business and did organizational consulting focused on helping teams manage remote employees. I was really focused on training managers and building out systems that would help manage remote teams and hopefully allow for more managers to feel comfortable knowing that their team can be remote but still really successful in their jobs.
Interesting. What just a total 180 degrees from what you're doing now. You were building systems there. Now you build and install solar power systems. But what kind of skills or experience from that, more of a white collar management career, anything you learned there help you cope with the challenges of starting up and launching your own business?
I think some of the challenges of just launching that consulting business in general were transferable. And then something that I think really helped me was I was helping teams develop essentially employee management platforms. And so I was able to take that knowledge that I had been passing off to my clients at that point and really use it for myself and look at how I wanted to build. We originally started as Jewel Ventures. So when I reference that, that's what you know I'm talking about. But when we started Jewel Ventures, I really was able to take some of those systems that I had built for other companies and put them into place. So my husband and I could start building a company and still have some really clear goals and communication and roles. I think it's always challenging when you're starting something new. There's so much to get done. And the to-do list is ever growing. And being able to separate out what our roles and how Ira and I were going to lean into our own skill sets and still grow together was really helpful for when you're working together and living together and doing everything together.
Oh, I know how that goes.
Being able to have, yep. It's amazing to be able to do, but it definitely comes with, of course, challenges and communication challenges and time management challenges. So I was able to bring a lot of that leadership work that I had done within consulting into launching Jeweled Ventures.
So tell me about the roles for a minute. How did you and your husband, my wife and I, we've been working and living together for so many years, just pretty much forever. How did you guys define your roles? Was there any overlap where you butted heads, or how did you get it sorted out, or was it just natural? Like you knew one thing, he knew the other. What roles did you play? And
I'd love to say it was all natural and there were no arguments involved, but that wouldn't be the truth. But of course we butted heads. We had our moments of, it's easy to miscommunicate when there's so much happening at once. I think we really started to fall into our roles of me taking on a lot of the client management and business development side of the business, while he took on more of the tech side, looking at system designs, doing a lot of the trainings. He just finished his ABYC training, which is really exciting. And so he really dove full into the tech, the education on products, and developing that side of it. We did a lot of trainings with Explorist.Life as we started our company as well. And so he got to lean into that and teach me what he was learning, while I got to lean into some of that business development side, customer management side, and show him kind of what I was doing on that side as well.
Sure. I know a lot of our listeners are probably couples running a small business together, like my wife and I, like the two of you were. And I think it's really important to kind of stay in your lane, but also stay in touch with each other about who's doing what and why, and to let them do what they're best at. But then at some point, you guys decided to team up with Explorist. So how did that take shape? What led to your decision to actually merge with another existing company?
Yeah, so we had been certified installers for Explorist.Life since the beginning. They just launched a certified installer network as we were launching Jeweled Ventures. And we'd known each other through the years and stayed in contact. And so we became certified installers with them. We went through a Victron training with Nate. We went down to Colorado and spent the week and went through a big training with them on their systems, Victron systems, all of that. And so we've really leaned on that business relationship from the beginning to get started, which was incredible. And they are a wealth of knowledge.
They are. Let's just take a little side trip here. And, we didn't necessarily mention what Explorist.Life is, or Explorist.Life. They're designers and builders. You tell me. So I know them as a huge amount of information and resources for people who want to build out solar power systems for the rigs. But in a nutshell, what is Explorist.Life, or what's an Explorist?
Yeah, definitely. Good question. So Explorist.Life really focus on education, sharing education, making sure people have the right knowledge to be able to build these off-grid electrical systems safely and effectively. So that's been really the core of Explorist.Life. And then we also have the Explorist.Life shop. And so being able to offer all of the parts and pieces. I don't know if you've ever tried to scour Amazon for that one right size lug that you need for one wire crimp.
Right.
Is kind of a pain. And so they launch the shop and have full kits. And so it makes it really accessible for somebody who's just learning about off-grid power to put these systems together on their own. So really focused on that DIY side of it, which is incredible. And then we get to come in as the installers and help folks who don't necessarily want to do it on their own, or have a tighter timeline, or just want a little bit more support with getting their electrical system set up.
And that's the first thing I noticed about them at the Adventure Van Expo is they had seats set up. They were doing seminars, and it was, I was introduced to them as, an information resource. But the company does offer the done for you solutions. So you're actually either designing, installing, or both, or just providing the resources. Like you said, finding that one lug is one thing, but knowing which lug to find is the first problem, right?
Yeah, very much so. It, yeah, all the little pieces of the puzzle for off-grid electrical systems are, it's overwhelming.
Oh, it
There's a
is.
lot that goes into it. If you're working with power that you're going to be sometimes sleeping above.
Oh, yeah.
So you really want it to work and you want it to be safe.
So back to the discussion about the business here. At some point you were doing it as a certified installer, but then you decided to actually join forces with the company. Did that change the
Yeah.
way you and your husband worked, either together or separately? What changed when you merged, if anything?
Yeah, I think the biggest piece that changed was just more support and more knowledge sharing. So they had come to us at the beginning of last year and asked if we would be interested in coming on board as their only installer and joining their team. They were going to be closing down the installer network and they wanted to bring installations in house. So
Interesting.
there could be more quality control around what was being installed underneath their name. And so with that, we also did get to lean into, a lot more knowledge sharing. They, of course, are such a wealth of knowledge and have built such an incredible business that we just get to keep all learning from each other. And in regards to how my husband and I kind of work together now, I think we still separate the work really the same. He still leans in on the tech side. He's the lead installer, so he leads every single install that's happening, and I get to help from the customer support side and make sure all of our clients that are coming out to visit us in Oregon are taken care of and set up for success and have the right system that's going to work for them.
Oh, again, focusing on what you guys do best. That's great. So I presume by merging, you were able to let go of some of the not mundane, but the more business side of things, like when invoicing and billing and whatever it may be. Was some of that taken off your shoulders by merging with the established company?
It was, which was very nice.
Yeah.
At the beginning, when we started Jewel, one thing that I did put in place right away was hiring somebody to help with
Mm-hmm.
financials and invoicing and managing all of that. I knew from the very beginning, you can't start a business on your own
Mm-hmm.
and you do need support. And so I thankfully had help with that from the beginning. But when we did merge, being able to take off some of the additional work of just all of the financial management, the marketing, the brand development, things like that were really great to kind of free up some of our time and be able to start offering more openings for installations. I think our growth opportunity was so much grander once you work with a team
Sure.
and you're not holding every single aspect of a business on your own, because at some point there's not enough time in the
Right.
day.
That's so true. I often call it juggling cats because we have so many things going on at one time, and they're all mission critical and they're all up in the air. But sometimes it
Yeah.
sounds like your joining forces there was really a benefit. Some entrepreneurs kind of hold back on any sort of joint collaboration like that because they have trouble giving up control over certain aspects of the business. Was there anything that you had challenges letting go of, or you were like totally happy to get rid of that stuff and let other people do it so you could focus on what you do?
Yeah, I think a mix of both. Of course, it was such a big change. Both my husband and I had fully worked for ourselves for almost 8 years
Hmm.
in total. He was he worked as a consultant prior as well. And so we were very used to managing our own projects, our own time. We didn't report to anybody. So that within itself was just a change, and learning communication styles and making sure everybody was on the same page, of course, is a challenge at 1st. And you start to learn how people communicate and how people work. And there's a piece of the puzzle there. But it was also nice that we had all known each other prior, and we did have prior relationships and prior trust that we built within just with Nate and Steph and with Ira and I. And so that really helped for a smooth transition.
Oh, I'm sure. And it comes back to that sense of community or even family. In my episode with Henry from Moonfab, a fabrication company who makes awning products, his company culture is one big family. And it sounds like Explorist is also one big happy family, at least most of the time.
Yeah, it definitely is. And they have their team in Colorado, and then Ira and I are the ones up in Oregon. So we're now the remote folks of the team. But yeah, I think we all really get along. I think everybody does a really good job within the team of bringing their expertise and sharing their voice. And there's always space for that. I think there's a lot of shared knowledge within the team in general. And we all grow together and realize that if one of us doesn't have the answer, we can all work together to find one.
It sounds like there's a somewhat distributed workforce, though, at least a couple different locations. What kind of tools are you guys using, or apps? Is there Slack, or what's involved in facilitating the communication between all the teams?
We love Asana. We live in Asana. Most of all of our tasks are there. We use Google Chat just as kind of daily quick notes, but for all the bigger projects, things that are moving along, we use Asana for most of that. Good. We just incorporated from the installation side, we just started incorporating HoneyBook as a additional communication tool with customers, which has been really helpful.
This episode is made possible by Travelfy. Want reliable internet without the hassle? Meet Travelfy. It's portable, high-speed Wi-Fi that's ready to go wherever you are. From road trips to remote cabins. No tricky setup or permanent location required. Just plug in and you're connected. And here's the best part. No contracts, no commitments, and no reactivation fees. Pay only for the months you need. Travelfy connects to the strongest available signal among multiple major networks, so you stay online with confidence, backed by a US-based support team that knows the outdoor lifestyle. Travelfy, simplifying internet while you travel. Visit travelfy.com today. That's TRAVLFI.com. Listeners can save 15% with code RVE at checkout. And company culture-wise, you were obviously in that space in the industry before. What is helping people stay in their lanes at Explorist so that you're not overlapping or infringing on other people's, stepping on anybody else's toes and doing what they do? How do y'all, keep track of who's doing what, and is it just through Asana, or is there like a mindset involved, like any unwritten rules?
Oh, good question. I don't know of any unwritten rules, but I think for the most part, a lot of good communication. Something that we were talking about recently was the idea of there shouldn't be surprises of if we're doing a good job and like how everybody's feeling in their space. It's a really like if there's a challenge that comes up, we talk about it, or if there's a role that is unknown who's managing a certain piece of a project, we talk about it and make sure everybody's on the same page.
Good.
And that's continuously happening. And it's still a small team, which is really keeps us close-knit and being able to have those open communication as well.
You say continuously, but are there like any sort of scheduled check-ins or circle backs to make sure everyone's on the same page? I know one thing that kept Renee and I from growing our previous company was I didn't want to like deal with the growth and the relations and just we just kept doing it ourselves because if I hired sales help I'd need production help, and if I hired production help I need sales help, and I didn't want to just let go of things there. So is there anything there that comes to mind?
Yeah, I think one thing I think about is, and I did this a bunch within my company culture work too, is just really being detailed in your job descriptions, and making sure all those roles are outlined. What's your job duties? Where are the expectations? Setting those expectations from the beginning. And when something becomes overwhelming, because of course with growth you have more duties on your plate.
Sure.
So for the installation shop from our space, the more installs we have, the busier we are and the less time we have to do some of the overhead work. And so being able to understand what pieces of the job are becoming overwhelming and getting those into a new job description and hopefully continuously growing the team from that space has been something I see Nate and Steph doing within the company, as well as like just being really focused on where that growth goes and making sure people aren't overwhelmed in their
Yeah.
roles, but creating clear expectations within those job descriptions is really helpful because it is hard to pass off. No, but we all want to say we do our job the best, but how can we understand which pieces of the job we're really enjoying and doing well and which pieces can we get support in?
Yeah. But with growth comes growing pains. And it sounds like, what I was kind of hinting at before was like the development of procedures manuals. And do you guys have that kind of structure in place
Mhm.
for new employees that come on board, that join the team, so they can kind of catch up quickly on the culture?
Yeah, of course. There's onboarding plans, there's training materials. Of course, there's all the online training that Nate's already built within his YouTube education as
Mm-hmm.
well for some of the technical side of things. Yeah, there's a lot of that in place that helps bring people into the team.
Yeah, good. So enough about work and
Yeah.
business here. Another conversation that tends to pop up in this show is the whole life work balance thing and finding balance. And one thing that might be relevant for our discussion is kind of finding balance between the wanderlust and the need for roots. I know Renee and I, we have this urge once in a while to just kind of settle down and get some community, but then we do for a while and we want to get back there on the road. So how do you, I understand you've kind of done the same thing where you've settled down into a regional area, but you still travel. So how do you balance your love of the travel and the adventure with the desire to grow a home and a business in one place?
Yeah, good question. It's, I think, a forever learning lesson. I try to think about it for myself in seasons. There's some seasons that I really want to be rooted down and be home. We in what year was that? In 2021, we moved to the Mackenzie River area and have put down roots there in Blue River, Oregon. And sometimes I really want to be there fully and just completely engulfed in that valley and enjoy that space. And then there's other points in time that the road's calling me and I'm ready to get out and go be back in the desert, or back in Utah
Mm-hmm.
or wherever is calling me at that time. And I think the most challenging piece has been, as we grow, making sure we schedule that in at this point in time,
Yeah,
which it doesn't always feel as wanderlust, but it's really important for us to still make sure that we carve out chunks of time into our schedule to be able to get back out on the road.
sure.
It's amazing to hear everybody's stories as they come to us and they get ready for their adventures and their new off-grid electrical system and how that's going to support them. But then we sit there and we're like, it's ready. It's time for us to go be on the road as well.
Oh, I hear you. We're at our winter destination where we've, aside from last year, come and stayed a few months at a time to sit out the winter in Southern California. It's coming that time where it's time to, get out there and get back on the road again and enjoy, why we did this in the whole place, in the whole reason. And one thing we love to do is get off grid and get out there and boondocking. So let's talk about some solar basics for the RV entrepreneur for a minute. Have you seen any common mistakes people make when setting up their power system, either DIY or when they go shell out a bunch of money and have someone do it? What are some common mistakes people do?
Good question. There's a few. I think really one big one is just understanding really how much power you're going to need. Mm-hmm. I think we hear often solar doesn't really work. It's not keeping up with what I need. And looking at how much power you're actually going to be using and then kind of exaggerating that number is helpful. So you don't have to be fighting this drained battery system and not having enough power. Right. That's one big piece. It's just the right sizing. Another big thing that we see is people using unfused systems, small wires. Those are kind of the dangerous pieces of the puzzle that we see come our way. If somebody's either inherited a vehicle or somebody put together an electrical system for them, sometimes, there's undersized wire, there's no fusing, there's not the protective pieces to keep the system safe, is another big piece. And we really dive into the safety because nobody wants to smell an electrical fire in their camper.
We don't say the F word around here.
No,
we had that happen.
Nobody wants to smell that.
We had a very close call once where a transfer switch had some wire nuts in it instead of being fused, connected into a bar, like you were saying. And we turned on the air conditioner and we thought the smoke was coming from the air conditioner, but it turned out to be coming from under the fridge. And when I opened it up, the box was practically melted. So scary stories we don't want to get into. You mentioned inheriting other people's projects. Like maybe you bought a rig or someone comes in. I kind of view it the same way when I take on a website project. I'd almost rather build it from scratch. Do you have anything to say to people who want to, say, buy a schoolie that wasn't finished versus build it from scratch? Are you in agreement that it's kind of often to do it better from scratch or fix other people's problems? Because you never know what you're going to get into, right?
Yeah, I'm with you on the start from scratch and do it right the first time. But I also understand sometimes you are inheriting something and you found a vehicle that's going to fit. And in that case, I think leaning on professional support, if you don't really know what's behind the walls, is helpful. Also, fully knowing that if you are purchasing a half-built rig that you don't know what's behind the walls, there is a chance you might be dismantling those walls to find out, which is maybe something that's really exciting as your piece of the puzzle and maybe something that's something you really don't want to do. So kind of your own adventure on that side, but really looking at the full picture, especially when it comes to the electrical, I think there can be sometimes cut corners, and that's never really the place you want to be when it comes to power.
Oh, right. The good advice I'm hearing there is to be prepared to open that can of worms and be prepared to encounter the unexpected and possibly spend more money or end up starting from scratch anyway. So is there one single most important thing people should consider when they want to start from scratch? Let's say they want to go solar, or they just bought an RV and it has no solar. is the most important thing an energy audit like you suggested, or having the budget, or knowing technical specifics? What's the one thing people should know before they're getting into solar power?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, of course, knowing what power you need, but I really think putting together a budget for yourself and understanding that investing in a high performing solar powered electrical system for your camper is going to help reduce your headaches in the future. I think sometimes it can seem like a little bit of sticker shock of, oh, now I have just purchased this camper and now I have to put this money into it as well. But in the long run, I do think it's very worth it. And doing it right the first time is really helpful.
I would definitely agree. It does help to have a basic understanding and know how the energy flows and what components are necessary and which screws to turn and not turn. It's also important to have that budget and budget appropriately and do that energy audit. And then, like you said, round up that you need. But let's talk about that dream system for just a minute here on the adventure ahead. So you've spent years living on the road, off the road, running a business, helping others achieve energy independence. Let's say for a minute, if you could plan your dream off-road road trip, let's say no budget, no limitations, what would your vehicle be? Where would you go? And what type of system would be powering this thing?
That's a good question. Dream would probably be a larger truck camper. Current dream, larger truck camper, and having probably a very long moment in time to be able to go back and do the Alcan again.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
driven it quickly a few times, but I haven't taken my time and I haven't done it in a camper. I've done it, slept in the back of a truck one time that I did it, but not a full setup. And I think being able to really take my time and do a long Alcan trip would be incredible, along with being able to spend a little bit more time in Alaska again on the road and experiencing some of the nooks and crannies of beauty that are there.
Yeah, it's the only way to do it.
And
And
then,
I would definitely suggest that. We did it in a fifth wheel once and beat the heck out of it with a busted leaf spring. And I said, never in a trailer again. So the next time we went, we have a tiny truck camper and we're self-contained in a small rig that we can get off the road and really get that Alaska experience like you were mentioning.
Yeah, definitely being able to have that just freedom to be able to go where you want to go.
And you guys are doing that at Explorist. You're helping other people do it. What's on your own personal adventure ahead realistically?
Oh, there's a lot moving right now in our life. So we actually just moved our installation shop from Blue River, Oregon to Redmond, Oregon. So we're over here outside of Bend. So that's been a really big, fun adventure that just started a few weeks ago. And so we are officially splitting our time from on the road to part-time over here in Sisters and Redmond area and Blue River. And it's currently feeling really fun to be able to almost feel like we're on the road again as we balance being back and forth and being around our different communities of friends. So that's been a really big transition and exciting things to come ahead with that as we've just started this growth of this adventure and excited to see where it takes us.
Oh, me too. It sounds fantastic and sounds like you have a little best of both worlds going on there. And I think what you're doing with people at Explorist is great. So where can people learn more?
Yeah. Over at Explorist.Life is the best place to dive in. Definitely if you're getting started with electrical or just trying to wrap your head around it, there's so much information and great videos to dive into on, as you mentioned earlier, understanding the flow of power and kind of how it all works in general. And then for me specifically, Morgan Munkvold is where I am on Instagram is kind of the best place to find me.
Wonderful. I was going to ask that next to see where can people see some of the great work you're doing, some of the wonderful places you're going. And it sounds like we'll drop all of those in the show notes. So Morgan, thanks so much for sharing your stories. We look forward to spreading the word.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. This was such a great conversation.
Wow. Powerful, right? See what I did there? What a great conversation. I love how Morgan reminded us that life on the road isn't just about the adventure. It's also about figuring things out when the unexpected happens. And oh, it will happen, whether that's keeping your batteries alive or growing a successful business with your spouse. I hope you caught that bit about the power of preparation and the importance of knowing your limits. That applies to your rig's energy system and your own personal bandwidth. And did you hear how success really comes from learning as you go, leaning into your strengths, and not being afraid to ask for help? Well, no worries. You can find this episode and the full transcript with complete show notes in the RVE news blog at therventrepreneur.com. And hey, if you're thinking about going solar or starting something of your own, start small. Think smart. Be prepared to adjust your plans. And remember,
a quick reminder of it's not all going to be rainbows and butterflies.
Searching for the perfect campground can be overwhelming, but not with RV-Life campgrounds. With user-generated reviews, RV-specific data, and real-world internet speed tests, you'll have all the information you need to find your ideal spot. Don't leave your camping experience to chance. Trust the experts at RV-Life. Visit campgrounds.rvlife.com to start your search.